Hey, I'm Anthony from West Coast Custom Concrete. Today we're in Corona Del Mar on Ocean Boulevard. It's one of the most prestigious streets in the world. As you can see, the houses. I'm working on this corner house here. It's about a $30 million house. That house is upwards of $40 million. Across the way over here is the world famous Wedge in Newport Beach. Here's Corona Del Mar, Front Beach, Ocean Beach. They call it Mother's Beach. And show down that way in the houses and everything, and then all the houses up. This is one of the most prestigious areas in the world. So we'll be doing a house over here. They had a problem with the Everessence. I'll go over it with the salt from the alkaline from being so close to the ocean. So we're tearing it all out. It's not that old. We're gonna be redoing it. Let's walk across the street and check it out. Hey, Anthony here from the Best in the West. We are in Corona Del Mar on Ocean Boulevard. We got a pretty hard degree of difficulty demo here because everything's locked in on this. They got like commercial drains in it because the water drains. The alley's higher than the garage, so they got commercial drains up against in between the garage and the slab, and then there's a little concrete behind it. And this is a job where somebody else poured it and it turned into a can of worms, and there was all kinds of experts and geologists and everyone checking out what happened to it. And it's a really high priced job because if you hit one of the walls on a $30 million house or you have to re-stucco or paint it, just for example, if you break the drain outside in the back, you'll see it. And after I demo this out under the carport, the drain would cost about $4,000 to buy it and about $2,000 to put it in. It's set in like a foot of concrete. So if you break one piece of the drain and you try and jack it out, it's just going to be a domino and keep breaking the drain until you end up. You're better off just taking the whole drain system out and pouring concrete and setting in it. It's a total nightmare. But you have to price these accordingly. Normally, in 20 years, I've never gone to a job that's turned bad. I won't take them. I won't go to them. But they called me for like 2 weeks, and they wanted to get the best contractor in Southern California to figure out what was wrong with this and fix the problem. And I knew what was going on. And the next video will be a must watch, how I countered it and what I did to have the problems. You can't see it right now, but it was all shaded and like Everessence salt was billowing through it. It looked terrible. The color didn't come out right. There was a lot of things going on. The contractor who poured it, I pumped for him before. I don't remember him personally, but I remember his name. And he did everything the construction code. He even went up and above. He put number 4 rebar all through this thing. He poured it thicker out front. You'll see it. It's like 7-8 inches thick. But there's things that aren't to code that you need to know when you're working on the ocean and alkaline soil and the mix designs, what you use to counter and what you do with it. That I know and a lot of people don't know. But in the next video, it's a must watch. Watch it, and I'll give a lot of information on what happened to this and why it happened and how I fixed it. And I demoed it with an S70 for a lot of reasons, because if you do any damage to anything, like I was saying, if I brought a 550-pound hammer or an 800-pound hammer, and I'm breaking out by the drains and I break one of them, I don't want to cost myself $6,000 because it hits too hard, and that stuff's made of like some kind of composite. If you crack it, you're done. So I just broke away from it. I stayed a foot away from the drain, and I hand jacked the other foot next to it, because these are priced accordingly. Where I figured this demo would take me 2 days because I'm going to do a lot of it very slowly. And I just came back from a 4-week vacation, and then I was sick for a week, so I took another week off, and then I showed up to this job sick. But they flew a guy in from Santa Rosa, evidently he's up by San Francisco, to watch me, so I couldn't reschedule, and he was already in town. You'll see him in the video later. So I'm just pulling these away from the wall and breaking them in the middle here and just punching the rebar out of it. You kind of got to popcorn it up and take it in littler pieces and just take your time. But I was so dang sick with this first couple days I was here. I just took my time and got it done and didn't want to do any extra damage for myself. The pour on this came out just, there's so many elevations and slopes and the way you come in off the alley into the garage, and they just bought a new Ferrari that's lowered down where you had to have the right angle to get it in, and you had to get the right angle to shut the garage door too. So we put this corrugated paper all the way around it, and then like thin wood on the garage, and had the garage lifted up, and we made a false wall behind it, because I'm sure in a $30 million house that's a $100,000 garage door, so I'm not going to break that thing. Most guys, they said, looked at this, wouldn't touch it. They didn't know what the problem was or what was going on or wrong with it. It's in litigation, and there's all kinds of problems. If you're new out there or you're starting out or you're contracting, I wouldn't go to jobs that people call you and say a guy just poured this and it's all wrong, and just go to a new clean slate so you don't have to, because it's already a can of worms. That's what I would say. But this one, you have to price it for the risk and reward. You know, if the money, outweighs the risk, then I would do it. Take a guess what I bid this for. It was 8.4 yards. See if any of you guys can get it. There's the channel drain right there. You break that thing and it's all locked in. You're in for a doozy. But all the other contractors who bid it don't have their own equipment, so they don't know how to go about it. They would have to sub the demo out. But I'm a full Bobcat operator, so I already knew. And I wanted to be really careful with these drains here. So I'm going to break about a foot in front of it and rip a zipper straight down it. I'm not getting too close for the vibration to break it. I know how far out to hit it and it won't break it. And then we come in with a jackhammer once we get all the concrete out. And another thing, this area under the carport, you got to hand load it because I didn't want to go back up and over that drain. Beach, we're in Corona Del Mar. I'm here with Max from American Alliance. He's a rep for Susan. You just rep for Susan, or you work on breakers?
No, I work on breakers.
Do you rebuild them, any breaker?
Yeah, any breaker, anything that needs service.
Is there any breaker you haven't worked on?
I've worked on them all, pretty much.
Everything?
Everything.
Every size?
Every size. The smallest, and then they make smaller ones than this, all the way up to 12,000.
12,000 pound breakers for those big excavators. You want me to lift this up?
I can probably get it out.
He's came out to change the bid on it and spend the day in Corona Del Mar. Show him the view, let him check that out.
Beautiful.
He's a long ways from Victorville.
Apple Valley.
Apple Valley, sorry. So if you need a breaker, a Susan, any hammer, you sell used hammers, everything?
Yeah, I sell used, reconditioned, so I touch them, I put a warranty behind them, so.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, anything that I sell is going to be good to go.
So if they don't have enough money for a new hammer, you'll sell them a used one?
Yeah. Yeah, we've got them, I mean, pretty much anybody's budget. I mean.
How much is this breaker running?
These ones are 6,500.
6,500 for an SQ20. For a S70, a smaller breaker, it's a 350 pound.
Sometimes I give guys deals.
I heard you've been selling the crap out of them from the best in the West.
You might.
I heard you've been selling them off the shelf.
Yeah, best in the West. He's throwing them my way. That's for sure.
That's a greasy one.
That's a greasy one right there. At least that's a good sign that you've been taking care of your breakers.
Yeah. How long will this take you to change it?
A few minutes.
Another minute?
Yeah.
So he's out of Apple Valley, and I'll put him in the description if you need a hammer of any size from 150 pounds to 12,000 pounds. His number will be in the description.
Yeah. Well, that's my number right there on that skid bracket.
Oh yeah, there it is. It's actually on my hammer. And you ship them all over the world, or U.S. or what?
Yep.
Anywhere?
Anywhere, pretty much. I mean, most of the time it's just here in the U.S.
So what are they looking to ship it to New York? Like $300?
Something like this, like $250, $300. It all depends. And then as they get bigger, then the weight will kind of.
So it'll be $6,500 plus 300.
Yeah.
So it'll be like $6,800 to get it shipped to your door.
Yep.
It's not too bad.
It's not bad at all compared to what everybody else is going for.
You're selling a lot of them if you live here.
I wish. Your house.
What's the progress on the beach today, Kristin? It's about 75 degrees.
Yep.
10-mile offshore breeze.
Absolutely stunning.
We're not going to the beach anyway because there's an oil spill down here, so the water's closed. They closed the air show off on Sunday too because of it. And you just got to be really careful. You see the roof line right there? If I had a bigger tractor and when I was loading it and I was lifting the arms up and I clipped one of the corners of that wall there, you would have to re-stucco the whole and paint the whole side. And it's like 2-3 stories above. It'd be about $30,000 or $40,000 to re-stucco and paint that side. So I brought a little tractor for a lot of reasons. I mean, ideally, this stuff's 8 inches thick in some areas, and it's all number 4. And you can see how tight the area is. I have to load, and we're in an alley. This is behind the house. Right where Captain America is, that's one of the big garage. And then there's a small garage. And I could get down from how low I am. I'm going back up on the other concrete, so I'm at the same height. But see, I was worried about clipping the ceiling up above there, so that's one of the reasons why I brought a smaller one. So I got half of it with the tractor, and then once you are on the dirt load on the other side, you're too low. You can't reach up in there, so you have to hand load that part too. I just bid it for, I figured 2 days and taking my time, and that's what it took. It's not something you come and blitzkrieg it on a $30 million house. There's a promotion video that I think the builder did, or the realtor. I'll put in a link in the next video when I pour it, where you can see the inside of the house. It's like 18,000 square foot. It's got a huge basement with a movie theater. And so, hey Tom, how many people did you have look at this place?
Between restorations experts, probably about 9.
You had 9. You had a scientist look at it, everything.
They sent off. Well, we were going to send off a sample, and then we just said when we break it, we'll send the sample.
So, what was the conclusion that they came to on it? Anybody?
The conclusion I came to is that it's a bad mix.
No, not what you came with.
Yeah, well, after all that information, because everybody had told us something different.
But I hit it, and then this was a bad mix, but this wasn't.
Right, and then over there, when that was poured second, and
Different
had
color.
no effervescence coming
Through the
through it pretty much told us that something was wrong
Well,
with the
when you
mix.
called me, I gave you more info than anyone, right?
Yeah, well, having the, what was that, the fly ash and the paws in it was causing the black marks.
Yeah.
And then,
And then you understood that it was in the shade, so that part's going to be.
yeah, and then the alkali soil, which got sampled, that did get sampled because we had that from when we built.
What was the conclusion of that?
It's salty soil.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
it's the ocean. It makes,
we're on the ocean. We're almost in it.
but yeah, so far that's been the gist of it.
But I had the most info out of anyone.
Yeah, well, you knew the most about the concrete. Everybody else was like, either didn't want to touch it,
So the effervescence and
Yeah.
the salt, everything was billowing through it because it's not waterproof.
because we can't stop the air salt from coming down on top, but at least we can do something on the bottom. So most people say they pour concrete, don't put vapor barriers on it, but
In
just-
California, you don't. In the Midwest and East, because it's a 4-foot freeze, you have to put it because they put rocks so it bleeds through. It's
Okay.
a rock. But here, with this Primo soil, and if you don't put fly ash in it, which they won't tell you that, it won't cure. It'll shade.
So
If it's in the shade, it's going to shade.
yeah, this is then. Because I mean, this pour is also the sidewalk going down the side.
Yeah, that looked
But
good.
yeah, because the sun's baked off the effervescence and it blows away.
Yeah.
It bleaches
And it's
out.
in the sun all day,
Yeah,
all
this
the way
corner
around.
is just a big shady dark spot.
So we're gonna pour straight cement with a 3250 city mix. Put a moisture barrier down.
What is 3250?
It's what the city calls their mix.
Got it.
That's a city mix. That's their mix design. But city mix peat gravel is 3250. It's 3500 psi. So if you want their mix, there's a reason why they use a specific mix, and no city mix, ironically, has fly ash in it. So they know something.
They
but
know
everybody
something,
else says
they
it
don't
doesn't
tell
do
us.
anything. So I'm just continually breaking this. That's why I go by the best in the West, because they called the heavy hitter best contractors around in here, and look who they picked. That's what I'm talking about. You're not going to bring anyone in just to redo this thing and knew what they were doing. The next video is a must watch. I brought in a new crew. I brought in an A crew. I brought in a heavy hitter crew, and it just came out. It came out really nice. If it ever does not bleach right and stuff, you can put white vinegar on it, but you don't want to put it on out of the gate. You want to see what it does. But I put a heavy 15 mil moisture barrier, and this was no easy demo. You just have to go slow and take your time, and the money's there to go slow. See, you have to popcorn it up. You can't take big pieces. It had number 4 everywhere. 1/2-inch rebar. There's a load. It's just like mashed up. There's no big pieces in that. You break around the rebar, and then I was hitting right on the rebar, and we were pulling the rebar out. You're not supposed to throw it in the dump trailer like that, like I did right there, separated, but I just didn't want to take it somewhere else. I know everyone there. Thank you very much for watching The Best in the West.